Hello YouTube fam, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Tina and I make videos on lifestyle, home, and DIY projects every single week. As you may or may not tell from my background, it is a complete mess. And if you missed my big announcement, I'm actually moving out of my apartment across the country into my first home. So there's a lot to do before we move, and in this video I wanted to show you guys how I'm undoing all my renter-friendly hacks. And I also wanted to answer some questions that you guys had about the new house and the move. So I'll go over all that stuff in this video as well. So today is day one of undoing everything. My goal is to get rid of these shelves as well as the wallpaper, and then anything else that's left on the walls, I want to fix that today. My first big project when we moved in was this little shelf situation, and it's only fitting that we take it down first, but also because I'm very nervous to see if it's actually going to come down cleanly or not. So I definitely want to address this first before I move on, and let's go ahead and just jump into it. Hello from VoiceOver Tina. So to start, there is a bunch of stuff everywhere because I was trying to sell everything. So I was taking pics of all my decor in this area, but it's time to get this wall back to its boring self. So we're gonna clear everything off. The first thing we gotta do is to remove these shelves, and it was actually pretty easy. All I had to do was unscrew each one of the brackets. I wanted to share a quick tip with you guys. So I used anchors for this shelf, and the easiest way to actually remove them is to take a screw and then just screw it in a little bit to where it'll stay. And then you're gonna take the back of the hammer and then you can just pull it out, and it is super easy to do. And throughout this video, I thought it'd be fun to answer some of your moving and house questions, and I asked you guys to send those in on Instagram and here on YouTube, and you guys had so many good questions, and I'm very excited to answer and share all the updates with you guys. The top question asked was, where are you moving and why are you moving? And I don't think I was very clear when I announced that we were moving where we were actually going, but we're going back to Chicago, and it's both where Brian and I grew up. And fun fact, I was actually born in California, but not raised here, and all of our immediate family and friends are in Chicago. So we were going back home, and Chicago is my favorite city, and I would have to say that LA comes in as a close second, but it will always be our second home. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be back in California in the future. And to answer why we were moving, our game plan when we first moved to LA was actually to stay for just 2 years. We moved to LA to grow and really just be on our own. We had just gotten married and we wanted a change of scenery. And this was kind of the last opportunity that we had to just explore and live somewhere new. So we decided to move to LA. And while we were in LA, we just spent a majority of the time working on this channel and building it. And we really did not expect the growth to happen so quickly within a year. And I am forever grateful for it and just appreciate you guys so much. So as our apartment lease was coming to a close, we were really deciding if we wanted to stay. And the more we thought about it, the more we realized we didn't have to be in LA. We accomplished a lot in just a year here, and it just made more sense for us to buy our own home at this point in our lives. Also, not to mention the houses in LA are a lot pricier, so the money that we put in rent here could be used on a down payment on a house. So ultimately, that is what we decided to do. All right, so the last thing, actually, this is not the last thing. The second to last step, third to last step maybe. Time to peel off the rest of the wallpaper. I did take some off of the edges, and this was really easy, did not damage it. But what I'm actually worried about is the larger pieces here. So behind it is chalk paint, which obviously is really flat. So I'm worried that it's going to peel that off, which is fine. I can just paint over that. But if it rips off any of the wall, I'm gonna be in trouble. I forgot that I totally butchered around the wallpaper. I forgot to take off the plate, and I just kind of did these little strips around it, but you really can't tell, so it's kind of fine. Oh, here's where I butchered it. This piece right here. Oh my God. Okay, this will be a good test piece. Oh no. You guys, we were definitely in trouble because once I took this off, I noticed that the paint underneath was peeling. So I definitely was panicking just a little bit, and I found to help avoid as much paint peeling as possible, I just took out my hairdryer and I put it on the hottest setting, and this is gonna actually help melt down some of that adhesive on the wallpaper, which makes it a lot easier to peel off. If I did not do this step, I don't think I would have saved the wall at all. So this was definitely a lot lengthier of a process than I thought it would be to remove it. I tried to peel it as slowly as possible and just do one small section at a time, but this definitely is not a foolproof method because some of the paint was still coming off in some spots. So yeah, that happened. I honestly think that the people who painted this building did not do a good job because the paint that they chose here is not very durable at all. And I could tell they definitely did not prime underneath. So we're gonna have to paint over and I'll see how the rest of this area goes.
For the record, I ripped this without her permission.
I didn't even know he did it. He was just like, oh, we're just gonna paint over this, right? And then I looked down and part of the wall is missing.
This is why you guys never see me in the videos.
Oh my God, babe. I definitely would not say this removable wallpaper is 100% renter friendly in my situation, especially since the chalk paint is a very flat matte finish. So I think this may work better on walls with a shinier finish. So you guys have been warned, and this is just my experience using it, but I'm sure that a lot of people have used removable wallpaper and don't have any issues at all. So I do think the wallpaper overall is a great option, especially if you're looking to keep it up for a long time and don't want to have to use wallpaper glue or paste or anything. But if you run into any issues with it, this is how I solved it. So the next step is filling in all of the holes in all of the little paint peeling sections. So instead of using spackle, I'm actually using joint compound, which works really well, especially if you're trying to fill in a larger hole like this one, but just keep in mind that it does have a longer dry time. So what I did was fill in all the holes from the screws, but I also filled in all of the uneven paint that I had peeled off, aka also Brian peeled off. So this might take a couple of coats of the joint compound, so just make sure that you're adding on enough on there. And after that's all dry, we will sand it and make sure that the wall is nice and smooth again. Jumping back into moving questions, a lot of people ask what I will miss about LA and California in general. And more than anything, I'm going to miss exploring new neighborhoods and different parts of California. It was just so much fun to be in a new environment and just know that I could drive a couple of minutes to a couple of hours to see so many other parts of California and the West Coast. So I'm definitely going to miss that for sure. And I also just really loved being in a city that celebrates creativity. Driving around LA, you'll see billboards and offices and studios and shops of anything from fashion to film to interior design, and it was just so inspiring to be at the center of all of that. I think that really helped fuel my creativity, and I'm going to miss that for sure. So the next area that I really want to get done today is the peel and stick tile. As you guys remember, I did this whole thing. It's really cute. I really love how it turned out. As an update, I did want to show you guys that I noticed that this tile was moving a little bit, but I think that's just because they weren't flush. So there is a little gap here and we always stand here, so I think that's why there's some shifting. Over at this corner here, I did notice some lifting with the print on top, but not the actual tiles. So that's something to keep in mind, especially if you don't have a piece on top to hold this down. So I ended up using Goo Gone and baking soda to get the rest of the adhesive off, and this just worked so much better together because the baking soda kind of scrubs it off, and then I just scraped it with another tile and just repeated this whole process. These tiles in the corner were so much easier to take off since we don't stand on this area at all, so they came off pretty cleanly, but I did notice some extra residue of the sticky adhesive. So what I did was I actually took the tile with adhesive already on it and then I just slapped it on top, and then it kind of grabs it and removes it. I'm sure you guys have done this before with either a piece of tape or something, but if you kind of just tap it on it, it'll actually get rid of itself. So this method worked really great for me. A lot of you guys also asked what I didn't like about LA or if I was ever homesick. And I know a lot of people hate LA traffic, and that's definitely a downside of living here, but the traffic in Chicago is honestly just as bad, so I didn't feel any huge difference being in LA. So there's really not much that I won't miss about LA, but I will say that you will notice a huge homeless population here, and the situation has only gotten worse, so that's definitely a downside of living in LA. And truthfully, I was never really homesick or felt homesick living so far away from home, but of course I would miss my family and friends, so I did visit a few times and I think that really helped as well. When it comes to peel and stick tiles, this did come off without ruining our floors, but I think that putting them on top of existing tile is probably a better option if you're looking into this. I would say that this is renter friendly, but it really depends on the type of flooring that you already have. So our apartment has a vinyl hardwood flooring, so you know it's kind of made out of a plastic material, and there's also a lot of texture on them. Oh my god, yes!
Yes!
Look at that, so clean. Except for this right here. So I think this made the removal process a little bit longer than if you were to cover other surfaces with it. So the next thing we have to do is sand this, and I'm very impressed by how smooth this feels. So I think this is gonna come out pretty good. I also requested the paint from my building, so it's really lucky that they provide it for us. And this looks like it's a chalkboard and table tennis finish. I had no idea that ping pong tables had chalkboard paint on them, so that's very interesting. But they gave me this whole can, so we should be good to go here. The next big question I got asked was how we bought the house from across the country. So it definitely was a mission, but we actually went home twice over the summer. So in June, we went back home specifically to look at houses. And over that weekend, I think we saw about 12 houses or so. And there was one that we really loved. So we ended up putting an offer on, which we did not get, but we were second in line. So we were very, very close, but we didn't end up getting it. So that really sucked. And once we got back to LA, of course, we kept looking online at houses, and we did end up putting an offer on 2 more houses without seeing them in person, so that already was nerve-wracking. But of course, we got our parents to take a look at it, to see their thoughts, to see if they liked the house and if it looked as good as the pictures. And we basically FaceTimed and did virtual walkthroughs with our realtor, so that was super helpful as well. And the third time's always a charm, so we luckily got the third house that we put an offer on, and I honestly feel really lucky because I know that in this market, some people are putting in so many more offers than us. So we're really overjoyed when we got the house because it honestly was probably the best house for us. And in July, we actually went home for my sister-in-law's wedding. We got to see the house in person, and it was just so nice to actually see it. I actually kept stalking all of the photos and figuring out the layout, and seeing everything online was just so different than seeing it in person. So it was really nice to be in the house and figure out all the projects that we needed to do, and it just got me so excited. So basically the week after we saw it, we closed on the house virtually from LA. So that was a really stressful process for us. It was difficult to do it from across the country, but it is definitely doable. So it required a lot of paperwork, a lot of communication, but we did get through it, and I am just so happy. So I just removed this because I put it back on it for our house tour, but we accidentally took some of the tape off because this fell off. And that's one thing with command hooks, they're great and renter friendly as long as you take them off the right way. And if you don't, you can end up with something like this. So this should be pretty easy. And then we have a couple more picture hangers there as well. Patching up some of these smaller holes was a lot easier, especially since I just used picture hangers and small nails. So these were not a problem at all, and I got all of the paint from my apartment. I think most apartments actually offer this, but if you ask them for some touch-up paint, they will provide you a small sample of all the paint that you need. So the paint that I got matched perfectly to each one of the walls, and it was as good as new. Okay, so going into questions about the actual house. So a lot of people asked if the house is a fixer-upper, and I wouldn't necessarily call it a fixer-upper, but it definitely needs some updating for sure, and it does have a lot of quirks about it that we will need to work on. So I would say that it's move-in ready, but it needs a lot of TLC and DIYs. And I'm so excited to get started on making over all the rooms, and we even have some major renos planned. And I hope that excites you guys as much as it excites me, because that means we're going to have a lot more home content here on this channel. And I don't know what it is about these paints that they gave me, but they honestly smell so bad. They smell like eggs, and it's not good. You guys, we are almost at the finish line. Everything is basically gone. The only things I have left are the doors here as well as the command hooks. Only problem is I sold all my furniture, so I have nothing to stand on. So we'll see how this goes, but we are almost at the finish line. I think the most renter-friendly items that I put in my apartment were definitely the vinyl handles as well as the curtain rods. As long as you remove the command strip slowly and correctly, you should be fine. There will be no damage at all, so I found these to be the easiest and also the quickest to get rid of, as well as the tape on my windows. So anything with light adhesive on them were really renter-friendly, and I would totally recommend it to you guys if you're renting. The last question I wanted to answer today was if we were taking any of our furniture and decor, and if we were hiring movers or renting a truck to move back. And no, we are not taking anything. So at the end of this video, you guys will see the apartment completely empty. We actually sold all of our furniture and a lot of my decor. I just picked the most sentimental ones to me and I'm shipping them. But for the most part, it is just me and Brian in our little car. We are going to pack it to the brim and just drive it across the country. The drive is going to take us 6 days and we are doing an extra day this time around. So I'm just super excited for it. There's so much beautiful scenery when you're driving across the US and I cannot wait to go through it again. I know it's going to be tiring, but also super gorgeous to just look at. So I'm really looking forward to the road trip. And we chose to do a road trip just because it was just going to be the most cost-effective option for us. None of our furniture is super expensive, so it just didn't make sense for us to spend thousands to move it across the country with a truck or movers or anything like that. So with that, I'm also sad to say that no, I am not bringing any of my plants with me. A lot of you guys asked if I was bringing them or if I was going to move them or how I was going to move them, but sadly I will not be taking any of them with me. So I'm basically selling them or gifting them, and I know that they're all going to go to good homes and hopefully I'll get some progress updates from some of the plants. I'm definitely sad to let them go because they've grown so much with me, but I know that the new plants that I get I will have for a lot longer and I will cherish them just as much. So we are nearing the end of bringing this apartment back to its original state. It definitely took a little extra time in the middle of all of my packing, but I was able to undo everything and it looks just as it did when we first moved in. I cannot believe how different it looks from when I completed all of my makeovers, and it just goes to show that even if you live in a rental, you can still make it beautiful. I'm so glad I was able to document it all and share it with you guys here on my channel, and I hope that you guys really enjoyed watching each one of these room makeovers. This LA apartment allowed me to grow and explore my creativity and truly was a special place to me. I also just hope that you guys had fun watching this undoing video and feel inspired to make your own rental a place that you can call home to. If you have any more questions on any of the hacks I did or any questions on my move or the house, I'd be happy to answer them in the comments below. Our next home is going to need even more DIY magic to make it just as special as this apartment was, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys on my channel. There's going to be so many videos. My chapter in LA has officially come to a close, and I just want to thank you guys all so much for being here through all of my different chapters. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay inspired, and I will see you in Sunday's video in the new house. Bye.